The Measuring Show.
Since 1970, MPB has been enriching the lives of Mississippians.
Everything we do gives us the chance to grow and learn.
With your support, we are always there whenever and wherever you need us. Together through the years, together in the future. Please consider making a donation at mpbfoundation.org. MPB, your stories, our mission. The nation's longest-running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival, comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
Good morning. Welcome to Deep South Dining right here on MPB Think Radio. It's Malcolm White with Java Chatman. Good morning, Java.
Oh man, it's
been a minute.
It has been a minute. I'm on the blue mic where Carol sits, and we're missing Carol this morning, but I hopped in, and yeah, we really have a good time.
So I don't think Carol would mind me sharing this, that she's doing her civic duties this morning. Carol has signed on as on the transition team for Mayor John Horn's transition team, and so they start with intense meetings early in order to get prepared for John's term coming up. So she's away doing her civic duty this morning.
And I think I'm gonna have to get used to saying Mayor Horn. I'm so used to saying Senator Horn.
Right.
It's kind of funny, but shout out to Carol for hopping in, and it's something to know that good people are in good places.
Absolutely. Well, it was Father's Day yesterday, and I don't know about you, but I had a lovely sort of weekend of it. We started off, Kara and I had a delightful dinner at the Crazy Cat Eat Up in Briarwood. On Thursday night, it was delicious. We had several fish dishes. We had some tuna that was seared, sort of an Asian style, and then we had a piece of red snapper that was paned and cooked sort of in your traditional Creole style. It was just a fine meal. I don't know how many people know about the Crazy Cat, but if you haven't been, they have a huge lunch business, and then they just serve dinner Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night there in Briarwood. So if you're looking for a new experience, they also allow you to bring your own bottle of wine in. It's kind of one of the few places that still allows that. So that's what we did on Thursday. Then we went down to the coast over the weekend for my granddaughter. She was in a swim meet down in Biloxi. So we were down there for the day and went to a really nice community nonprofit supper on Saturday night. And, man, it was a great Java. They had fried chicken and turnip greens and cream corn and shrimp salad, and it was the bomb.
It sounds like it, man.
And anyway, so and then my wife gave me my Father's Day gift was a buttermilk pie.
Ooh.
There's a lady named Olivia Spencer here in town. She goes by the Pie Girl, and she bakes pies and cakes and such. So I got a buttermilk pie for my Father's Day.
Now, I want to take it back. You said that the Crazy Cat is one of the only restaurants that still allow you to bring a bottle of wine. You're a little bit older than me. Mm-hmm. Was that like a common practice back in the day a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Lots of restaurants used to allow people to bring in their alcohol.
Really?
They didn't serve. We didn't even have legal alcohol until 1964.
Uh-huh.
But even after that, a lot of places did not get liquor licenses. They just chose to stay in the food business. But if people wanted to, they could bring in a bottle of wine or a bottle to mix drinks. A lot of people, there are two terms that are associated. One is corkage, which was related to wine. You were allowed to bring your wine in, and you were charged a corkage fee for them to open and pour. And then there was a setup. There used to be this other term. You remember the setups?
I know about the setups.
Okay. Well, you would bring in a bottle of liquor, and they would provide the mixers
mm-hmm.
and the the limes and lemons and all that. So that was a setup charge.
Yeah.
So you don't see much of either of those anymore because almost everybody now has a liquor license.
Yeah, I just learned something today. I did because from my POV, you were not encouraged to bring in outside,
right?
Food and drink. So to know that was a common practice was, just something to learn.
Well, the Mayflower, for example, and the remodel and the restructuring of the Mayflower, it was long known as a place where you could bring your own wine. And when it was purchased and remodeled and reopened, they got a liquor license. And so now a lot of the old timers who used to bring in their wine at the Mayflower can't do it anymore. They serve wine and they serve drinks. Anyway, that's just kind of a funny thing. And then on actually yesterday morning, my grandson spent the night and we had waffles. Kara got up and made homemade waffles. Now tell me about your Father's Day.
Oh man, my Father's Day was actually spent being a dad. I can honestly say that my wife Crystal, she is hosting a conference, an AI conference, the Southern Spark Conference. Is actually happening this morning and tomorrow at the JSU East Center.
Okay.
So she was actually in full conference mode. So I was running around being dad, holding the kids down while she was doing all of her things. But we did go over to my parents' house for a little while and spend some time with my dad. And another good thing that we did last Saturday was my two daughters, they danced with Judah School for Performing Arts, and they had their recital on Saturday. So I spent some good father time, being dad.
No special eats.
No special.
You were feeding the kids.
I had to do what I had to do. Maybe we'll get a breakfast in bed down the road, but I was in dad mode, just to be honest.
Marissa, did you get to enjoy any family or good gathering food over the Father's Day holiday?
It's a little bit sad. I don't want to be a downer, but I had to go to a funeral this weekend. And so I did get to see my dad, and that was a high point for sure. And I want to shout out to the Mount Comfort Baptist Church women for preparing a really nice meal for the family and friends. You were talking about fried chicken and cream corn and all that earlier. It was a nice spread, and I really appreciate that.
Well, that's great.
We did a whole show on funeral food once before, so it's a thing.
It is a thing,
yeah.
and you sort of touched on it, Marissa. It's a comforting thing. It's people comforting other people through the lens of food, and it's a real thing. And that's a lot about the Juneteenth that we're going to talk about coming up, a celebration of breaking bread, gathering, eating, remembering, holidays and stuff. Did you have some? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm good.
You're just waving and smiling at me. So, one thing, Java, we talk a lot about fresh produce. And as I drove down to the coast and back on Saturday, I saw a proliferation of fruits and vegetables, and particularly the Smith County watermelons are coming in.
Always.
And speaking of Juneteenth, watermelon is one of the foods that is celebrated during Juneteenth. All red foods.
Yes, sir.
That we'll talk about later. But the Smith County melons were everywhere. I mean, it was every 2 miles there was a watermelon truck.
That's always now, how many of those Smith County watermelons are Smith County watermelons now?
We don't know, but that's what the sign said, right? I got off on that there a few years ago on this show. I was calling the Smith County cooperative agent, trying to find out what Smith County did to distinguish themselves. And in the end, they talked about all sorts of stuff, but in the end, it was sort of a marketing thing.
Oh, yeah.
Which is nothing wrong with that.
No, that'll put you over the top.
Yeah.
It'll put you over the top.
Well, June is a busy food month. June 17, Java, you may or may not know this, but June 17 is National Eat Your Vegetables Day. So this is, as a father.
Yeah, I was going to say, scrape it off give it to the dog day. Scrape it off the table. You're not leaving until you finish your plate day.
Yeah. I always sort of bribe my grandson. If you'll eat these 2 pieces of broccoli, then you can have your mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
You get a popsicle or something. You eat your vegetables.
All right, that's June 17. June 18 is International Sushi Day.
Now, I will say yesterday, because I was doing a lot of running around, I was able to get one of my favorite things I haven't gotten in a while is hibachi. So we went to our favorite place out in Clinton, Hibachi Express. I got to shout them out because I don't know what they do, but they do it well. And I was able to get some sushi. So, yeah, International Sushi Day.
So that was your Father's Day meal, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, but I did a lot of driving and then picking up and for Father's Day.
And, of course, June 19th is Juneteenth. We'll be talking about that throughout the rest of the show with special guests. Today, Enrika Williams, Chef Enrika Williams, and Chef Chris Washington will join us after the break, and we'll talk about what they do and their lives and their careers, and also how all of this sort of ties into Juneteenth. And finally, June 20th is the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. So,
and the official summer day.
Beginning of summer, like we don't already have summer here.
It's somebody told me the other day, we're in June, but we already having July weather.
Yeah. Well, but we've had a mild spring. We've had a lot of rain.
Yeah,
It's been cooler than usual. People like me who garden are
That's why I meant to ask you with the you talk about the fresh produce. How is your garden? Because I know you always talk about your tomatoes that come out. How's everything going?
Well, good.
Okay.
Because of all of this rain and this cooler weather. But I put all of my tomatoes in buckets this year. The dirt in my yard is no good. It's clay. It's this clay that we have here. And so I put everything in buckets. It's a mixture of soils, including cotton debris from a cotton gin out in Edwards that my great friend Malin McAdams furnishes me with. So we'll see. Right now the plants are blowing up, and I have green fruit on the vine. We will see if they make it to ripeness. I've had to use screening to keep the squirrels and the birds off of it.
Important, very important.
I had to do the same with my blackberry bushes and vines and my blueberries. They've already happened. So what I did was I screened it, and then I got what I wanted, and then I took the screens off and let the birds and the squirrels have at the rest of it. So I've gone through my blackberries. I've gone through my blueberries. I got a few figs. I've got them screened. And I've got, hopefully, pears and peaches coming. We'll see. And maybe a lemon or 2. And then these bucketed tomato plants. I've got Creoles and purple heritage tomatoes planted this year. So we'll see.
No better boys?
No better boys this year.
Okay,
Sometimes I do better boys. I tell you, I've really gotten hung up on these Creoles.
Yeah.
I really like those. And so we'll see. If anything happens, I'll bring you a tomato.
Okay.
Too. All right. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have 2 very special guests, as I said, and Chef Enrika Williams and Chef Chris Washington are going to join us. And we had both of them on back in 2021 together. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that was brought up to me. I forgot as well.
It's interesting. They're like, okay, we're putting the band back together. So Enrika and Chris will join us after a short break. You're listening to Deep South Dining right here on MPB Think Radio. If you want to join the conversation, we'd love to hear from you. It's toll free. It's 1-877-672-7464. And we'll be right back with Enrika Williams and Chef Chris Washington on more Deep South Dining.
Every parent wants their child to grow, to explore, and to dream big. At MPB, we're proud to support families and teachers across Mississippi with trusted educational programming and resources that inspire learning and spark imagination. From PBS Kids favorites to digital tools and early learning support, MPB is here for young minds, engaged classrooms, and families who believe in the power of learning at every age. Empowering families, inspiring learners. MPB, your stories, our mission.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
Mississippi is a place of deep roots where every story matters and every voice can be heard. At MPB, we stand with our local communities, bringing you the voices of those who shape our state through local programming that reflects our culture across small towns to big cities, from the Delta to the coast. We tell the stories that define us, from the music that carries our voices to the leaders who inspire change. MPB brings you the heart of Mississippi, celebrating Mississippi one story at a time. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Welcome back to Deep South Dining on MPB Think Radio. Mountain White here with Java Chatman sitting in for Carol Palmer, who's away this morning doing her civic duty. So
I just want to say the beauty level of the blue mic is not as high as it normally is on Monday mornings, but we're gonna make do, everyone. We're gonna make do, especially everyone on live stream.
Right. Which remind our listeners that if they're interested, they can watch us on YouTube.
And the thing is, too, about watching us on YouTube, because I do this with some of my YouTube viewing, you just put it on your TV whenever you want. You know, if you have a smart TV, click on YouTube so you can watch Deep South Dining while you're in the kitchen. You know, a lot of people have TVs in their kitchen, or you can watch it at midnight if you can't go to sleep.
Somebody asked me this question, and I don't even know the answer. If they're streaming, if they want to go back and listen to the show and stream it, does the YouTube also stream, or is it you don't catch it live, you don't see it?
No, it's there.
It's there.
It's there. Yeah,
it's audio and visual.
Yeah, if you miss any part of today's show, just like with our podcast, or the only thing that's, I guess, linear that you can't rewind is the radio in your car. But other than that, you can check out the podcast anytime you want. You can check out the live stream if you're watching on YouTube anytime you want. So it's there. It's there for infinity, I guess, or perpetuity.
All right, we're going to welcome a favorite of ours, a regular, as it were, Chef Enrika Williams. Welcome back, Chef.
Hello.
So good to see you.
It's always good to be here.
Busy lady.
Of course she's busy.
A little bit.
And Chris Washington, Chef Chris Washington. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
You've been on before. In fact, the two of you were on together back in 2021. Look at Enrika like, huh? You were in Atlanta at the Atlanta Food.
On a phone call.
Yep. Reunited.
Wow.
And it feels so good.
That's right.
As my grandma would say, tell a fool. Like, if you don't know, like, please tell me. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So see, we're putting the band back together.
I'm here for it.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about Juneteenth. Java, give us a little history of this holiday, and then we'll talk about how we celebrate locally and individually. Yeah.
Well, I mean, locally there are so many different celebrations happening this week. To be exact, but if you want to give a little history lesson, I want to shout out our wonderful producer Marissa Vaughn. But yeah, 1863, Emancipation Proclamation came down, but Texas was kind of slow to the party, as we say. And then June 19th, let's see, it was General Gordon Granger. He arrived at Galveston, and I always think people kind of forget that this is a Texas-born celebration, but through people power, like true people power, it became a national thing. And so June 19th, General Gordon Granger, he arrived at Galveston and kind of enforced the Emancipation Proclamation, and the last of the enslaved people were, freed, quotation marks. But yeah, and that's how we got June 19th, putting June and 19th together. So you get Juneteenth.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it is celebrated in various ways. I have read that some counties and some cities in Mississippi officially celebrate Juneteenth. Some do not. Some people, there's still this Confederate Memorial Day thing out there in April that some people still commemorate. But Juneteenth is a federal holiday.
It's a federal, now that's always, I'm going to be honest, we're a state agency, so we're like, do we get Juneteenth off? Are we off? I mean, 4th of July rolls around and we're like, okay, we're scheduled off because that is a state recognized holiday. Juneteenth is not a state recognized holiday, but it is a federally recognized holiday. So, it's not an off day for state workers, but I think the banks will be closed.
Yeah.
And then there's that paradoxical holiday of Martin Luther King and Robert E. Lee that we celebrate. It's a state holiday, right?
Yeah, it is. It is a state holiday, and it's just one of those things that is.
It is what it is.
As they say, it just is.
Juneteenth has traditionally been celebrated by breaking of bread and coming together in meals and food. So since we're Deep South Dining, let's talk a little bit about the foods. Enrika, foods of Juneteenth.
So just really quickly, so when I really got into Juneteenth when I lived in Houston.
See, Texas.
So it is an incredible big deal there, just culturally. Juneteenth. Being in Galveston, Houston is like an hour away. So there were always these celebrations and things. And so the one thing that I do not like about Juneteenth is Big Red soda. And I know you're finna flood. I do not like. It's a cream soda, but it's red, and so it's a really popular drink. I don't know if it's regional. I know you can get it here.
I just had a Big Red.
Yeah, but it's just you. So
John was like, wait a minute.
So when you think of, because a lot of times, Big Red soda, you have it like with brisket or with barbecue, and so in my mind, I'm thinking Faygo strawberry.
Okay.
And so when I drink this, I'm like, what is this? And I was
so this is a personal thing.
It is a personal vendetta with Big Red soda.
Okay.
But just tonight,
now that you've gotten that out.
Yeah, now that I have gotten it out after almost 7-8 years of holding that in. But what I always associate with Juneteenth is hibiscus. And hibiscus punch, because one, I love hibiscus flowers. I love the floral notes to it, and it's just such a healing plant itself. But you always have a red punch, and sometimes they'll use like Kool-Aid, but it's a very vibrant red. Tony Tipton Martin has an amazing recipe, Plug City, in her cookbook. Oh my God, I just can't remember the name of it. I'm so sorry.
The one with all the drinks?
No. It's the one with the food, and it's not the Jemima Code. Oh my goodness, why am I just having
It'll come to you.
Yeah, so she has an amazing recipe for hibiscus punch in there. But I would just always make it myself. Like I would just steep the hibiscus and make a syrup, and then just finish it with like some nice, clean bottled water. But I always associate that with Juneteenth.
Is it Jubilee?
That's it. Thank you. I knew it was there and it wouldn't come out.
Yeah, Tony Tipton Martin cookbook Jubilee.
Yeah, but
check it out.
I love hibiscus. And Juneteenth is like it's like family reunion celebratory meals. So there's like excessive things. No one eats a Juneteenth meal trying to be mindful of a diet.
Yeah, no, it's
like that's ridiculous.
Gotta
like
go.
that has to
it's
go.
like Thanksgiving.
You don't have to eat like a pig per se, but if you choose to, that's okay. But it's just such a variety of things that they like to have, especially like with desserts and stuff. It's just such an elaborate spread to celebrate.
And speaking of desserts, Chris and I were talking before we came on the air. One of the dishes that is celebrated for Juneteenth is red velvet cake, and I was asking Chris about that. He's a baker and a sweets guy. And
Chocolatier.
what did you tell me that you were recently asked to make?
That's a good word for it. Yeah. Yes, I was recently asked to do a red velvet cheesecake for a guest that came into the restaurant a couple of days ago. Two ladies were sitting down, and they were big fans of the desserts that I make at Bravo. And one of them particularly was like, hey, I would love to have a red velvet cheesecake. And without hesitation, I was like, yeah, I got you. Not a problem. I can do this. So I made it for them and everything, and they're really appreciative of it. And I think I'm actually gonna put that back on the menu this week. So
there you go.
Perfect timing.
So besides your work you're the sous chef at Bravo.
Correct.
But you also have a side hustle, Michael Cordell Eats. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Michael Cordell Eats is a joint venture for me and my oldest son, Brandon Washington, who's at home asleep. Summertime. So, but it was something that we came up with during COVID. Of course, you come up with so many creative ideas during that time. But COVID kind of helped us come together a lot more, especially with the schoolwork. And that's really what it came from. It came from doing math. So while doing math, teaching him how to do math, I'm also teaching him how to use a measuring cup. And
aren't you the smart one?
So yeah, fractions, because I'm not really big on fractions, but I know how to use a measuring cup. So I was like, let me just show him how to do this on this part. So doing all of that and come up with recipes while learning how to do fractions, we ended up, I'm like, okay, we can probably put something together on this. So talking to my brother, who's a marketer, he was giving us an idea, hey, maybe you should, do something with this. And I was like, possibly. But he kept pushing and pushing. I was like, okay. I was like, I don't know what to call it. And I didn't want to call it Chris and Son, so.
I don't know. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I was,
A little Sanford and Sonny.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Java.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite shows, but I didn't want to reinvent the wheel on that one. So I was like, let's just try our middle names, and because I know most companies some companies, they will probably throw in a middle name or a nickname here and there and just kind of tweak it to make it sound professional. So I was like, yeah, so Michael is my oldest son's middle name and Cordell is my middle name. And we just put together and we just eat. So
and you do catering, you do desserts.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what all you do with that company.
With the company, I do catering, savory and sweet dishes. It was mostly based off just sweet dishes. The savory side just kind of just was like, hey, can you do? And of course I'll say yes. But it's mostly we're mostly catering towards desserts, from your pastries, your breads, your cheesecakes, cookies. Yeah, those. Cheesecakes, cookies, pretty much everything sweets. So we're a big sweet tooth family, and yeah.
You told me growing up that y'all would go out to eat and you would be cool with that, but the whole conversation quickly turned to
desserts, and you'll sit down, like people will come in and you already know what you want to eat. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we ate our food, then they come with it, like the dessert, and you're like, yes, what is on the dessert menu? So we try to look at it and we get so excited about it. And it's like you're turning into a whole kid again, So I was like, why not kind of venture into that direction, Right. So, and we used to, before kids, I used to go out a lot to go eat, and I would be more excited towards the desserts because of the creativeness of it. You know, like being a baker is more of like, it's almost like chemistry almost.
is.
you
Yeah,
know?
that's what we
Very
talked about that.
exacting.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that was very interesting on how they'll put those flavors together, and it just kind of stuck with me, you know. So when I put things together or try to do recipes or whatever, it's more of like, okay, let me do a trial and error. I might overburn some sugar, or chocolate may taste very bitter, or just caramel is not caramel anymore. You know, it's just, you know, it was fun. It's like having a chemistry set again.
Now, speaking of chocolate, you actually have an event coming up. It's like a chocolate tasting.
Yes, it's a chocolate tasting. So, with the Michael Cordell Eats, we started a thing called Tasteful Melodies. Outside of the catering world, I am a DJ.
Wait a minute.
Tell them what's your name, son?
Come on
I was
with it.
waiting for the like. When are you gonna just like let them know like this?
Oh man. Well, I go by DJ Break 'em Off.
He's being real
Absolutely,
because Chris is a phenomenal DJ.
Yep.
He's made some of I guess you call them mashups, right?
Right.
Some of your favorite mashups that get played by DJs all around the country. So you know he's playing coy a little bit, shy a little bit, but he's a phenomenal DJ. And I really love how you have taken both of these passions, you know, because I knew you as a DJ first, and then when I started learning about you, you know, cooking and your ways in the kitchen, I was like, man, he's putting these things together. And then you put on, you know, this is not your first event, but the event you got coming up on July 6th, Tasteful Melodies, you know, you are, you know, merging these worlds again.
Yes. So with that, I'm putting my DJ world into the cooking. And what it is, July 6th, I'm doing an event over at Offbeat of my buddy Venom. We are doing a dessert tasting based around the collective Soulquarians, which consists of Erykah Badu, D'Angelo, Questlove, Mike Poser, so many great guys, Common, Jay Dilla. So I'm making desserts based off of selective songs off of those particular artists and their albums at that time. So it's definitely going to be...
It's beautiful.
Yes, that's the word for it.
It's beautiful. And Enrika, tell us a little bit what's happening at Fauna Food Works. Your world.
Fauna right now we are.
No, tell me about Clarksdale. You went to Clarksdale. Sinners. I'm sorry, Malcolm. Sinners was the movie, the blockbuster. You know, was based in Clarksdale. And, you know, for those who don't know the little bit of the story, there's not a movie theater in Clarksdale. So the community, I think Tyler Yarbrough and good people at Sip Talk and, what's the lady? Aaliyah?
Right.
Yeah, Aaliyah Wright got together and was able to bring Sinners to Clarksdale, the place where this movie takes place. And Enrika, you were down there playing your part, doing what you do, bringing the food, and just talk about that. I just...
Oh, Java. Okay, so first of all, so I was asked to provide the luncheon for the first evening or the first day for Sinners. So Sinners was there for 3 days. So the first day that they were there, some of the cast members, some of the Warner Brother executives, Ryan Coogler and his wife Zinzi Evans, as well as some community leaders, they decided they wanted to have a luncheon after the showing. So also there are some students in Greenwood that have a film program. So we had lunch with them. So it was like 30 of them. I drove to Clarksdale with a vehicle full of food.
There you go.
And I did not know how I was gonna feel until I got there, because once I found out that Sinners was coming to Clarksdale, I was just like, whatever you guys need, I don't know. I didn't know how I was going to fit into it. I said, I just need to be here.
Because at the beginning, you tagged me on Facebook for the online petition.
I
so
did.
you were early on.
I was. Because as soon as Tyler was just like, I had to travel to go see it, I was like, something is going to happen to this. So went to Clarksdale. We did a luncheon. And it was after the shoot. It was after the 11 o'clock, so we did the luncheon. And so Ryan and some of the staff and the crew members were there. Everyone, it felt like a class reunion, just like a homecoming. Like there was no pretense. Mm-hmm. There was no Hollywood there. And I was able to talk with him, and I'm still processing it because it was my intention to do the luncheon and then go to the Q&A afterwards. I did not make it to the Q&A afterwards because I didn't have to go to the Q&A afterwards because I had opportunity to have several conversations with him as a creative person. Like normally, I'm always anxious and jittery. I met him. He got to talk about the food. He told me how it made him feel, what he felt in it, and I was able to convey that, and I just felt like I'm talking to a peer. I'm talking to a fellow creative. So I was good for up until now, I'm still processing.
What you serve?
I served...
what was the menu?
So the menu was, so we did a harissa spice chicken. So we roasted that and had olives and lemons. And we did Mississippi style pot roast, but we did short ribs. I had some local wild rice from the Delta. So we did wild rice. I did butter peas. But I made those plant-based because I wanted to still show, these can be very delicious without porking it up.
Yeah.
And we did, and for my dad, I did ginger ale glazed carrots. So I just kind of did a few things that reminded me of people. And then I also shout out to Sugar's Place. I had honey bun cake and peach cobbler that Miss Glenda's team made. So that was the last stop in Jackson. We got it hot.
And we hit the road.
And we hit the road. And so that's what we did. And we had lemonade and iced tea. And then I set up snacks, a concession stand. So there's Twizzlers and popcorn and stuff. And it was just amazing. Every time I go to the Delta, I love it. So it was fun.
That's cool.
I'm going to take another short break and come back and continue this conversation. This is great. Java,
oh, yeah.
Thanks for being here today.
I'm
for sitting in.
Locked and loaded.
Locked and loaded.
I'm excited. I don't get a chance. They have me looking at
you're busy doing administrative work
and all this other stuff.
Going to meetings.
Yeah. So this is fun. This is fun.
Okay. All right. We'll be right back with more Deep South Dining with Enrika Williams and Chris Washington, Juneteenth, and other things that we might want to discuss. And you're welcome to join us if you're so moved. We'd love to hear from you. 1-877-672-7464. Or you can shoot us an email to food@mpbonline.org. This is Deep South Dining. We will be right back.
The nation's longest-running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
When the weather turns severe, when breaking news affects your family, when Mississippi needs answers, MPB is there. We provide real-time emergency alerts, trusted news coverage, and live broadcasts of emergency updates. Available on TV, radio, and online. MPB is on the air and by your side every day of the year. Because when it matters most, Mississippi turns to MPB. Mississippi's trusted source. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Together through the years. Together in the future. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Welcome back to Deep South Dining, right here on MPB Think Radio. Java Chatman, Malcolm White, and special guests Chris Washington and Enrika Williams. Before the break, we were talking about all things art, culture, music, food. Enrika was talking about her adventure in Clarksdale. I did have one question. You mentioned the menu. You said rice. Were you talking about the Two Brooks rice,
Yes.
the local rice grown up there in
Yes.
Sumner?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes.
Mike's got quite an operation going on up there. Which rice did you use?
I
Do you
used
remember?
it was like a purple wild rice. I
Yeah.
can't remember the actual name of
I
it.
bet
but
the colors-
It was very pretty, but it was nutty. But I also used some jasmine rice and some aromatics too, so it wasn't just like all wild rice, but it had some in there too.
Very cool. Well, Java, can you share with our listeners some of the Juneteenth celebrations that are going on around that we know of? I know the city has an event. Is it on the 19th?
Yeah, I was. Well, actually, it's a couple things on the 19th. The two Mississippi museums, we had them on Next Stop Mississippi. I think maybe last week or the week before, and they have an event on Thursday from 4 to 8. So that's always a good place to be. Shout out to Michael Morris and of course Pamela Jr. But yeah, we got Juneteenth on Farish, which is a good.
That's Saturday, right?
Yeah, that's Saturday. But it's just always something to go to these places that have these great traditions. Fair Street was one of the hubs of Black culture here in Jackson, and I know they have celebrations in Memphis. I mean, not Memphis, but I'm pretty sure they have celebrations in Memphis. But in celebrations in Natchez. There's also, if you haven't been to the Union Station. There's a Magnolia Market on Saturday, which is called the Union Market downtown. A brand new renovated space, which is just phenomenal. I actually saw an event there with Damian Kavicki. They had an event in that Union Market space, Union Station space. The other day,
I saw that
a picnic, and there was some
catered
some,
meal.
Yeah,
was it
jazz
supposed
playing.
to be in Smith Park, and the weather was not cooperative,
It
so
was
they moved to
supposed
Union
to be
Station?
in Smith Park.
It was jazz in the park or
That's
something
right.
like that. It was a downtown Jackson Partners function.
Yeah, that is exact. Because I was wondering why that had happened in there, but it was raining that day.
Yeah.
And they brought it under there. It's a covered space, and it's Juneteenth celebrations all around. Check the MPB events calendar for things that may be happening in your area.
Okay. We've got a question that came, I think, via email perhaps. We've got two chefs here, so let's get a take on this. Edward in Jackson is asking if we could share a good gumbo roux recipe, how you make your roux. So we're going to start with Chris and then Enrika. Chris, like a lot of people cook the roux on top of the stove, stirring the flour into the oil. Right. Some people put the dry flour in the oven and brown it very slowly. But roux's a big deal, and this listener is curious about how you do roux, Chris.
So I would like to do my roux over the stove. I like to sit there and actually watch it.
Right.
It's best to do that because you can definitely get distracted. As far as into measurements, depending on...
You're the fractions guy now.
Yeah.
Give us the recipe.
I gotta have my I gotta get. Let me get my measuring cups out real quick and my spoons. I feel comfortable doing it like that. No. For me, I do equal parts. If I need to with my flour, I might add a little bit more flour into it. But I go low and slow.
What color do you look for? Some people like a lighter roux, some like a really dark roux.
For me, I'm more of a dark roux person.
Dark.
So I will go somewhere in between that amber to dark almost.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get too dark because, of course, it'll be too scorched. But I try to go for that between that amber and dark.
You go 50-50 flour and oil on the top of the stove very slowly.
Very slow.
Enrika?
Yep, I can. I'll concur with that. I also use a wooden spoon with a flat, like a kind of like a spatula, so I can get like in the sides. And I like to do a figure 8 motion.
Gotcha.
And I just do it all over the pan as I'm doing it on the table right now, just to show how I do that. And I also do with the ratio because I am not a fractions girl.
Mm-hmm.
Side eye.
No, I'm just saying because math is not my friend. Math is not my friend.
It's not mine.
No,
either,
you know, so I'm not giving a side eye like that. That's awesome. I do the ratio to like half and half. I was always told like it should resemble like wet sand to give you like the consistency. And again, just low and slow. I always like to use a cast iron too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have entered into the equation not only the flour and the oil and its equal components, and you talked about heat, but you also talked about the stirring mechanism.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing because if you don't stir, you're done. You're burned.
Yes.
And it has to be consistent because even and I've found because if you tell someone to make gumbo and you tell them to stir it constantly, sometimes the stir constantly is just in the center. And so the outside, the ridges are like burnt and scorched. And so for me, I always just do like figure 8s all over. And that way I can always pull the outside inside.
Gotcha.
So I can get all of that. And then if I don't want to get too long-winded with stirring that, I'll use a little bit of beer.
You put a little beer in your roux.
To help because of the yeast and the natural sugars help brown it a little bit
Very cool.
faster.
What color tone
I
do you go for?
like a dark roux. Okay. Pretty dark. Past milk chocolate, not too much further than that.
Gotcha.
But I don't like a light roux too much.
No, me neither. All right, Edward, thank you so much for listening, and thank you for your question. And if we didn't satisfy your itch, let us know. But I think we covered it. Java?
I mean, nobody asked me how I like my roux.
How you like your roux, Java?
In my gumbo.
There you go. There you go.
With a name like Java, how do you think he likes it?
Right.
All right, let's talk about some of these other traditional Juneteenth foods. This guy, Chef Chris Scott, who spearheaded the James Beard Foundation's first ever Juneteenth celebration in 2018, explains that the red symbolizes the blood that was shed by black Africans and black Americans during the slave capture, slave travel, and slave trade here in the United States and the Caribbean. And he lists some foods as watermelon, strawberries, barbecue, and the red velvet cake that we talked about. But also, he talked about adding red peppers to collard greens and black-eyed peas using red rice. Now, Enrika, what is red rice? Is that a colored rice, or is there a red grain rice?
So red rice, as I know it, is a Gullah Geechee dish
with tomatoes.
With tomatoes, like a tomato-based rice. I think that red being the color of resilience, and how different cultures, not different cultures, but different regions have reinterpreted that for their own, benefit. It's very vast when it comes to food and cuisine. One of the red things, the red velvet cake, is definitely a very popular dessert. And again, I really didn't get into red velvet cake until I lived into Houston. Until I lived in Houston, that was just like, that's like our caramel cake here and banana pudding.
But isn't red velvet cake, because it's my daughter's favorite cake and it's her birthday cake isn't it just a colored, used food color?
It's cocoa
I mean, there's
powder.
no strawberry or
no
hibiscus.
cherries, none of that.
Right.
Yeah, it's cocoa powder. Okay. And that's the people
cocoa powder.
It's cocoa powder, and it's also vinegar.
Yes.
That's what gives red velvet its velvet.
And do you prepare that separately before you add it to the cake, Chris?
You fold it all in like with the dry ingredients.
Yes,
right?
I fold it all over the dry ingredients. I start with my wet batter first.
Mm-hmm.
Then I go into with my dry ingredients and just gently fold into it. So,
Java, you red velvet cake?
Yeah, I love a good red velvet cake.
What is the actual? So red velvet is not a flavor.
Yeah, I'm learning.
Is it just a vanilla cake?
So it's a vanilla cake, but it has cocoa powder in it. But it has enough cocoa in it to not make it a chocolate cake.
There
but
we go.
Yes.
But technically, it is a chocolate cake
because it is a different flavor.
Yes,
it's not.
That's where the vinegar comes
That's
in, and then the amount of cocoa that you use in there, and then typically it's cream cheese.
Yeah, I was going to say now the icing is cream cheese, which is white, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the red is inside the chocolate base cake.
Yeah,
right?
And then they use a little bit of dye. Some people can get a little wild with the red. Was it red dye 45?
Yeah,
or something,
red dye 45.
Number 40, yeah.
Something terrible. But I think velveting is a culinary technique. And I hope that my skills instructor is not listening because I cannot remember what it means in velveting. It's an actual technique.
Okay. So if you know what velveting is in culinary terms,
please
you can
save me.
Give us a call and share it with us. Now, I was fascinated by this collard greens with red pepper.
Yes.
Now, Chris, you and I were talking about that your mother or grandmother used to put the red peppers in the greens.
My grandmother, she would every Sunday, and I can smell it now as we're talking.
There we go.
We get from church, and I'll be in the living room, and she'll be in the kitchen, and I can just smell the greens. And I was a chicken and dumpling kid growing up, so I didn't want nothing else but chicken and dumplings. But she would have a pot of collard greens and turnips and things of that nature, just cooking. You think she's cooking Thanksgiving dinner? There's only two of us in the building, but she would have greens, and she would dice up either a cayenne pepper into her stuff or a bell pepper, and just to give it that extra flavor and that look into it all the time.
Well, Java, we've run completely out of time.
Yeah, no, we have. And also, as we wrap up Juneteenth, I love the fact that I recently learned, watermelon sometimes has a negative connotation with African Americans, but it was kind of brought upon because it was a big economic engine for African Americans back in the day. So it got turned on its head. So if you don't know about that with watermelon, look that up.
All right, Deep South Dining is a production of Mississippi Public Broadcasting's Think Radio, and we are funded by generous contributions from listeners like yourself, and we thank you. Our show is produced by Marissa Vaughn. For our guest, Enrika Williams, Chris Washington, and the one and only Java Chatman, filling in for my co-host Carol Palmer. I'm Malcolm White. We ask that you stay tuned now for Everyday Tech at 10, Southern Remedy at 11, and we'll see you next week.
This forecast is on